What keeps you awake at night?
Sea levels are rising globally.
Fears fueled by horror stories.
Among the worst flu season in a decade, and it hasn't peaked yet.
We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous.
Another series of deadly terror attacks.
I don't want to be blamed if you cannot get to sleep tonight.
Hi. Welcome to Things That Keep Me Up at Night. Guys, it's been a long week. Has it been a long week for you?
Yeah.
Okay, energy. We need energy. I can't.
It's just, I feel like, and Brie's presenting today, so she's gonna feel this mood. This was the hardest topic to research to date, just because, like, I briefly mentioned in the last podcast, but, like, with cults, you can argue, like, okay, somebody's been, like, severely brainwashed. They're not entirely responsible. This one is, like, deliberate and conscious decision to fuck people over.
Yep.
Honestly, the thing that was so weird is that I thought I just let my guard down, pretty much. I thought it would be
too much
easy.
Optimism.
Yeah, and this one was the hardest one.
Yeah, for sure. I've had a lot of pain in my heart.
Yeah, a lot of pain.
And
now we get to hear about it.
Right. I'm usually at, like, a level where I'm like, like, that's, you know, that's the only way I can describe it. Is just...
Girl, please go into more detail about...
But I think that...
I'd love to hear more about that.
My noises have changed from to
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Yeah.
So you're ready to get started?
I am so ready.
Brie, if you could introduce the topic, let's just skip right into it.
All right. So today we are in our second part of our 3-part company and organization cover-up series. And do I have a doozy for you? I have a lot of sadness to spread today, ladies, so let's just get this over with. Today,
let's do it.
We will be talking about the NFL's direct negligence for their players' mental and physical health.
Oh, no.
That is right.
Oh,
shit!
Brie,
We are talking about the NFL's concussion and CTE cover-up.
No!
Oh, this
is
one,
gonna be
I
hard.
know this one is bad. I know this one is bad.
Oh, boy.
I have a question for you.
Really quick.
Yeah?
We didn't introduce ourselves.
Oh, hey. I'm Olivia.
Hi, I'm Brooke.
And I'm Brie. I'm also emotionally exhausted.
Why does it always cut off every time she introduces herself?
I think it's fate.
They're like, no, you don't get to be a part of this podcast. Wow. Interesting.
Anyway.
Yeah, so we're covering the NFL's concussion and CTE cover-up. How much do you guys know about this, / how disturbed are you by it? I want to know.
Honestly, I didn't know that it was a cover-up. I just knew that, like, they were getting hurt and nobody really cares.
Oh, well, it's both of those things.
The only thing that I know is because I'm very into O.J. Simpson. This is a big secret of mine.
Yes.
Yes. But there's, like, a big theory out there that O.J. Simpson has suffered so many head injuries. Like, he has really fucked up, like, damage to his brain.
Yeah, they say that the frontal lobe is, like, responsible for impulse control. So that would make sense.
I mean, it makes sense why there's, like, constantly shit coming out about the football players, like, beating the hell out of their wives.
Yeah.
Which they don't
we're
do
gonna get
anything
into
about that either, so that's really
good.
fucking great.
So, let's start from the beginning with a man named Mike Webster, or otherwise known as...
Who's that, Brie?
Iron Mike.
Iron Mike?
Mike Webster played as a center for the Steelers from 1974 to 1991. Now, the position of center is a position that takes a lot of damage, right? So they're basically protecting everything. They're taking a lot of the hits. Also, the Steelers were notorious at that time for being a particularly... basically in a very offensive team, like they, not like offensive, like, but you know, sports terms. I've learned a lot of them this week. I don't watch football, like, ever. And so
None
this
of us
is
watch football.
Yeah, I know nothing about any of this, so thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, no, I've gathered a lot of information on it, and I'm trying to do the best that I can with the information that I've researched, but you're still gonna have to hang in there with me. So yeah,
the game where you foot the ball.
Yes.
You just foot the ball, right?
Yes, that is that is the game. But so, Webster was and continues to be one of the most praised Steelers of all time. With more than 15 seasons and 220 games, Mike Webster has played more than any other player in the history of the
shit.
Steelers.
Well, that's what I fucking like to hear, talking about the winners. Loving it.
Oh, okay.
Bree's like, I know too much about this for that to be funny.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, you know, he was a very big deal. He was praised by a lot of his fans. He was a god among men, essentially.
Yeah.
He was also known as one of the strongest players ever, winning the 1980 Ironman competition, coming up with the term Iron Mike.
Shit.
Right.
Wow.
Big boy.
He coined
I'm
the
sorry,
term.
that's just so fucking stupid. Like, he
Iron
wins a competition
Mike.
called Iron Man, and everybody's like, haha, hey, this man's Iron Mike, am I right? And he's like, oh my god.
My brand.
That's it. That's it!
You've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna make a comment about how he was Iron Mike on the Steelers. You'd think you'd have a little bit of consistency, like maybe like Steel Mike.
Mike. You'd think. You'd think.
That's my only criticism so far. Okay,
That's
continue
not
on.
what that
Unoriginal.
is.
Ridiculous.
Okay, so Mike was an extremely smart student as well as being an incredible football player. He graduated from the University of Wisconsin with honors and was just overall like a really bright kid.
Aw. I like
Okay.
him.
So did you guys enjoy that?
man.
Because that was the only happy part of the episode.
Savor it. Olivia, savor it.
Oh.
Bree, say it again.
Periodically throughout the episode, you just like name really fucked up statistics, and you're like, Iron Mike was also a really gifted student.
I just bring back
better.
facts about his family as I go through the episode.
Oh,
All right.
Iron Mike.
So like
Okay,
I
go
said,
ahead. I'm
this
ready.
is like I said, this is everyone's favorite part of the episode, the part where things get fucking sad. So
Good. Really good.
shortly after Mike retired from the NFL, his wife started noticing some changes in Mike's behavior. She said Mike would be extremely tired and he would have an unusual moods. He eventually progressed to becoming aggressive. In one instance, he got so aggressive he started to stab all of his football pictures with a knife.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Iron Mike being normal and doing normal things.
Yeah,
That's
his
so
that's
bad.
his song. How did you know? Things only started to get worse from there.
Sure.
Yes, they do?
After fits of rage, Mike started to become forgetful and less attentive. It started off small, but then Mike started becoming more and more frustrated with himself. Mike used to tell his
Sounds
son...
like it's degenerative. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Mike used to tell his son, and this is a direct quote from his son, the worst thing is I'm actually getting to the point where sometimes if I don't have my medicine, I'm cold, and I don't realize I can fix it by putting a jacket on.
Oh, what? That's so fucking sad.
Yeah, there's stories about his son walking through the grocery store with him and, like, him going to get, like, something from the grocery store and, like, going to, like, literally pick up the item and then forget what he was getting. So his, he had an interview that I was going to include in here, but we just don't have time. But I'm sure, Olivia, we can post it on the Instagram sometime this week. But it's him just, like, talking to somebody and talking about his history of head injuries in the NFL. And he can't get through a single sentence because he can't finish his thought. So Mike started abusing drugs and got into such a huge financial crisis that his wife eventually divorced him after 25 years of marriage.
Did nobody decide to take this guy to a doctor?
No, he was
Like,
he
is
was
that
going
part
to
of this story?
Yeah, he was going to a doctor. He was seeing somebody for it, but they couldn't really figure out what it was.
They have no idea what to look for.
So is this like the 80s?
This was
90s. He retired in like the
90s.
90s?
no.
Yeah.
This is
All right.
This is early 2000s. Basically, they were treating him with antidepressants as well, and they just thought that he just got really fucked up. But they didn't know the actual medical, like the science behind what caused him to be that way. So they were in the process of his treatment. They were trying to find it out, right?
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Mike started abusing drugs and got into such a huge financial crisis that his wife divorced him. He eventually became homeless and had to live in his car.
God.
He was in. This is the part that is actually true. He was in such a state of stress that in order to sleep, he would have to tase himself.
What the fuck?
Wow.
Yeah, or he would get other people to try to do it for him sometimes. But yeah, he would tase himself in order to go to bed to get rest.
I don't even have a goof about that. That's insane and horror movie level shit.
Yeah, it's awful. Like I said, it's not gonna be a fun one today, boys.
Last time was really fun, so this is really...
I really expected this to just be a candy store. What's going on, Brie?
I'll try to, I was gonna say...
Yeah, lighten it up. Just move right along.
Yeah, okay. In the fall of 2002, Mike Webster died at the age of 50 years old, a little over 10 years
Kinda young.
after his retirement from the Steelers. So
That's kinda young.
Oh, and it gets younger.
Oh, really good. I'm glad that's a thing.
So, after Mike's early death, a man named Dr. Bennett Amalu performed an autopsy on Mike Webster and found that things would change the history of the NFL forever. So, a little background on Dr. Bennett Amalu. Dr. Amalu is a Nigerian forensic pathologist, professor, and medical examiner that is extremely intelligent and qualified in his field, with years of education under his belt. He also studied neuroscience, so he's very, he knows what the fuck he's doing. Right?
Sick.
Yeah.
So are we all pinning that? Are we all making sure that we
Yes.
know that?
I remember this man.
Yeah, got that sticky note right in the front of my brain.
Okay.
In your frontal lobe, if you will.
If you will. Perchance. If you will allow. All right.
So back to Mike. Dr. Amalu found a series of unusual things upon examining the body of Mike Webster. Mike had several herniated discs, a broken vertebra, a torn rotator cuff, a separated shoulder, an enlarged heart, cellulitis.
Hold on. Wait. These things were things that he had and hadn't been treated?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And teeth falling out.
Okay.
And the way he knew that teeth were falling out is because there was no actual, like holes in his mouth where teeth would be. He saw that he had super glued his teeth back into his mouth.
What the fuck?
That.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. That is... My whole jaw hurts now.
yeah.
Oof. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, sorry. Whoa.
Oof. Okay.
The skin was attached firmly to the skull based on scar tissue buildup from excessive head trauma.
Oh, God.
So actual scar tissue began to form on his forehead, so that way it was attached to the skull, because the skin is usually loose from the skull, so that was really important. Oh, did I forget to mention that Iron Mike's signature move was to stop the team's other players by slamming his head into the other players as hard as he possibly could.
Oh man.
As signature moves go, not the wisest.
Right.
Did it say that he was doing drug? He was doing drugs. It's right towards the end. Because an enlarged heart usually is the result of hard drugs.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Wow. But I'm sure it looked sick, huh?
Right. But Amalu said that the most... Huh? Sorry.
His signature move. Don't worry about it. I'm going back to bed.
His enlarged
no, not the hard drugs.
Heart.
No.
All right, we're not there yet. Okay, continue.
Right. But Amalu said the most important part of the whole autopsy was the fact that Mike Webster's brain was completely normal.
Huh.
No
That's
ridges that were out of place, no unusual gray matter, everything was fine. But Amalu was curious because being a good doctor, he understood that, there was something deeper going on here. So Amalu started examining slides of his brain. This is what changes the game. He found evidence that Mike Webster had chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. Now, CTE is a progressive neurodegenerative disease caused by brain trauma.
Yeah.
A protein called tau starts to form clumps in the brain that spreads, killing off brain cells, causing change in mood and behavior, such as aggression, depression, paranoia, impulse control problems. And then as the disease progresses, in later stages, patients have experienced memory loss, confusion, impaired judgment, and progressive dementia.
Yikes.
So, like any good doctor, Omalu published his research, chronic traumatic encephalopathy in a National Football League player, in hopes to help people from being harmed any further and making steps to help advance the field of medical science. And you know
like
what?
you do when you're a doctor.
Right. He meant well.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of ignorant to the fact that when you publish medical results, sometimes people don't want to hear that information because they want to stay ignorant. And so we have come to learn that sometimes good people get fucked over. His research was immediately scrutinized by, you guessed it, the NFL. The NFL.
Goddamn, who could have guessed that?
The NFL commissioner, Paul, and I'm not going to pronounce his name right, but I frankly don't care, Taliabu.
I think that's right to me. Sounds good to me.
Sounds fair.
So Paul said that Omalu's research was inadequate, or had inadequate clinical evidence that the subject had chronic neurological conditions. The NFL also insisted that Dr. Omalu was misunderstanding the science of brain injuries, urging him to retract the paper, and that his research wasn't science, but, get ready for it, voodoo.
What?
Okay.
They could have used any other word.
Yeah, they could have.
You said this is the 90s, right?
No, this is 2002. 2004, I think it was published. Yeah.
Worse. Who uses the word voodoo to describe anything?
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, you're right. No, it was the 90s. It was the 90s.
Yeah,
but
because
still
I was going to
great.
say, I read like a book on neuroscience, and it actually took far longer to fully understand the functions of the brain. Like they were still doing tests in like the 60s and stuff, trying to figure out what the locate parts of the brain were. Right? It takes a really long time because they said in the book. It's called The Tale of Dueling Neurosurgeons, for anyone that wants to read it. Super dope. They say the only time you can really study the brain is in case of injury, right? Because you can't just go into a healthy patient's brain and do experiments.
Sure.
But if you have a patient where they're like, these are my symptoms, and then you cut open the brain and look for abnormalities, then you're able to find what the problem is.
Right.
So I feel like this is one of those cases where they're going to find a trend in football players and find the exact same phenomenon in all their brains. Very interesting how neuroscience works like that.
Right.
But yeah, I thought it weird because even in the 60s and 70s, people didn't really fully understand the importance of the brain. They were getting there, but it's the 90s. There's no excuse.
Yeah.
There's no use of the word voodoo in science.
Absolutely not. That's insane.
Yeah, early 2000s, late 90s, we shouldn't be using the word voodoo.
Just at all.
Yeah.
No more voodoo.
Ever. Just never use that word, period. But
Voodoo is canceled.
So, in an attempt to protect one of America's favorite pastimes, the NFL formed a committee called the Mild Traumatic Brain Injury Committee. I like how they use the word mild.
I like that every cover-up that I read about, they always have a committee.
Yeah.
That's when you know something's bad. Committee.
Right.
Committee. Bad word.
Yeah, it's also
Cursed.
it's also known as the MTBI, and that's how I'm going to refer to it from now on. But the NFL said the goal of the committee was to better understand the brain injuries to help protect their players, right? So the MTBI would publish papers with faulty evidence and research that would deny any of the research found by Dr. Omalu.
On
Is
purpose?
this fucking familiar or what?
They knew it was false?
Well, I'm going to go into that. But basically, this research was done by team doctors.
Okay.
So yeah, in the NFL, each team has a designated doctor on staff, right?
Sure, yeah.
That doesn't mean that they have any training in neuroscience.
That's fair.
Or head injuries, for that matter. And the doctors were extremely biased. The head of the committee, he absolutely 100% believed that concussions had no relevance to what was going on. There was an actual famous interview with him where he was called the No Man because the interviewer would just ask him, is there any relation between concussions and like later medical issues? No. Well, is there any? No. Well, is there any? No. And like it was just no
Jesus.
over and over and over and over again, just denial, denial, denial. So the research was done by a team of doctors with no special training.
Sure.
And this is a quote from them. They didn't think concussions were that big of an issue. MTBI also published papers that would insist players could return to the field after getting a concussion, and that concussions.
Whoa! I'm
Okay.
sorry. What?
Yeah, and that
Sure.
right, and concussions would not cause any serious injury. That a player could go back on the field the same game that they retrieve a concussion.
Okay, so question. If
Go for
a
it.
football player is able to go on the field after a concussion, how come I had to go to the hospital on Christmas when I got a concussion?
Yeah, what the fuck is that
think
about?
I have a lot of fucking questions.
Right.
Ugh.
Well, whoever took you to the hospital was trying to protect you, so.
I could have gone out there, gone back on my bike.
Christ.
How old were you?
What? How old are you in second grade?
Oh, like 9?
God, I don't know, like 7?
Yeah, 7 or 8 maybe? I don't know.
Two very different ages.
I think 8.
Yeah, sometime in second grade I fell off my bike and like, you know, I mean, I guess I blacked out and
my God.
woke up with no memory of that day. Sure, okay.
But like, who cares?
But
I was
put me out
fine.
there, Mom. Put me back in the game. I have a bike to ride.
Oh, all right.
Anyway,
So-
continue on.
Thank you.
Anywho.
The NFL also said this, that, quote, it might be safe for college/high school football players to be cleared to return to the play on the same day after their injury.
No.
So now they're aiming it towards the actual youth football players of America. The commissioner of the NFL also openly admits that the research and data that they could conducted and pushed to the public could be faulty, and that they might have come out too early with their statements.
That means is. That
Yeah.
just means is.
That literally reminds me of like when you're making an argument and like you're just speaking from the heart and what you feel like you know, and then somebody's like, I'm gonna look up on like that on Wikipedia, and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm just like, I'm not 100% sure about everything that I just said. Like, just want to let you know.
Right.
Just don't take my word for
I
everything.
could be wrong.
I'm just
Right.
human. Come on.
So in the year of 2005, a football player named Terry Long, also a Steeler, committed suicide by drinking antifreeze.
Oh boy.
Yikes. Okay.
Right.
That's the way to go.
Jesus.
We cannot hear you. Okay, there we go. We couldn't hear you.
Jesus.
Dr. Amalu then examined his brain and again saw evidence of CTE. So Amalu
Go
submitted another paper. Amalu clearly wasn't giving up on this just yet.
Thank God.
I love him.
He's incredible. I watched a documentary with him in it. I think it's called A League of Denial. It's an NFL. It's just about like the NFL and their denial of like the concussion crisis. And he was being interviewed in it, and he was just like, "Yeah, when I came out with my medical like research and science, I would think they would respect that, but I guess not." You're like, "Oh, Dr. Amalu." God, I love that man.
Pardon me for
Roast.
thinking science would matter.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I love him.
I love him. He's so good. So yeah, he examined his brain again and saw evidence of CTE. Amalu published another paper because of this, and the NFL again did not act well. So they had a private meeting with Dr. Amalu, telling him that you know what, they're willing to work with him on research and actually take provisions and steps forward in the medical community to help improve their players' health and safety.
So basically, we'll pay you off if you stop writing these papers.
No, that they were willing to help him to just better the safety of their football players.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. That didn't happen. Just wanted to pull a bit.
Oh, no.
So basically what they said was that he needs to understand what the implication of what he's doing truly is. That if he were to continue his research and just 10% of the mothers in the country perceived football as a dangerous sport, then he would be the end of football.
Goodbye.
Fuck.
So yeah,
Why is a fucking leisure sport so goddamn important that it's worth people dying?
Because it's an American tradition, Brooke.
What's also going to be really tough is none of us like sports. So
Okay, but like if and I want to be in the entertainment industry, and so I can speak to this. The same thing happened when fucking what's his name? Woody Allen, like, he's a shitty person. He's a bad dude. And people started making this argument. They were like, well, what if he hadn't made movies? Then we wouldn't have Annie Hall. And I'm like, fuck Annie Hall. Who cares? People got fucking hurt.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, who fucking cares? It's a thing that exists, and then people got hurt. Football is a thing that exists, and people are getting hurt and dying. Like,
but
fuck
see, here's
football.
the thing: is like with Annie Hall, like I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a massive fan of Woody Allen films.
I mean, same.
So like to me, if they're like we'd never have Midnight in Paris or whatever in Annie Hall, I'd be like, oh no,
what a fucking disaster.
Like, this is one of those things where like
movies, they're fine, like,
but they're not like the epitome of cinema, right? But like this is like Discovery, where it's like this should end football forever.
Yeah.
And it's just I can't even like I don't know, I don't have any perspective to go like, oh, I understand why that's a big deal, because to me I'm like, yeah, this is that thing where like once a year I'm obligated to see my family and eat bean dip. So
I get Fritos, so
think about the Super Bowl commercials you'll be missing, Brooke, if they just took the safety. And
you're right. What if I never see another Doritos commercial ever again? Doritos sponsor us, please.
The halftime show. Oh God. Yeah, I don't get it. So I don't understand why this is such a big deal. Like not the CTE part. I don't understand why. I don't know. I don't understand why football is a big deal. Sorry to shit on football, but
well, it's not even that. Like, I don't get why it's fun. Like, it's fun to watch. Like, I don't love sports, but I understand the appeal. I have a lot of family that loves football and sports in general. But you will never ever be able to convince me that a game or a movie or a TV show are worth human beings being hurt and killed. Sorry.
Well, and my whole
closed book for me.
Right, and that's a great point. My whole thing is I'm not a fan of football, but I am a fan of hockey. Like, I watch a lot of hockey. And hockey is a very like there's a lot of physical contact in hockey, and like it's a very like violent sport.
People get hit.
Yeah, people get hit. Well, people get into fights too. And so, like, there was a couple people who, when I was talking about my topic with them, they were like, well, what about hockey? Like, what about all these other sports? Are we just not going to have sports anymore? And it's like, no, what they don't understand is through research, it's specifically the NFL, because the nature of how football is played and just how, like, players use their bodies to, for, like, defensive plays and offensive plays is damaging to them. Where it's like hockey, like, yes, men get hit, but there's not like head-on-head contact. And let's say that there was. Let's say that tomorrow the NHL came out with papers that it's like, yes, there's serious CTE in a serious evidence of CTE in hockey players. I would be fine with not having hockey because of that.
I think the other thing is that that's not even the end-all solution. Just change the way the game is played. Like, well, just change it.
So the example I was going to give is like Chris Benoit, very, very famous wrestler. One of his signature moves is he would literally wrestle the person to the ground and then slam his head into their head repeatedly until they got knocked out.
What the fuck?
When they analyzed his brain was super fucked up. Like, some scientists have compared it to that of like an Alzheimer's patient as far as like damage goes. They were able to establish rules post-fact where you're not allowed to use like head attacks, I think is like the thing. Like, you're not allowed to do moves like that could injure you that significantly.
Yeah.
Right. And they're able to do that. I don't know if they'd be able to do that in football because, like, the entire sport is tackling each other.
Right, and the whole, exactly, and the whole body position of football is it's like you have, like, your legs are firm to the ground, and you use the top half of your body to push, and then you use your legs to support, right? So it's like you're using your front body as, like, the aggressive portion of like the hit. So I've watched a lot of, like, plays, like football plays of impact, and it's a lot. It's brutal.
It's really
so
intense.
Even if you were to, like, ban, like, signature moves or, like, things, like, along those lines that were, like, you can't use, like, your head, you're still gonna get traumatic injury. Like, there's no way to avoid concussions. Zero.
There's also, I think there's, like, a clip of, like, O.J. Simpson in a documentary where, like, he was a runner, right? He wasn't fucking getting hit, right? He wasn't in those positions in football. All he did was sprint. And there's, like, this one clip where he, like, tumbles and rolls, but when he hits the ground, he hits directly on the top of his head so that his entire body weight slams into his neck, and then he rolls. Like, that's one of those things where it's not like you can ban that, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an accident.
Like, so that's one of those things where I feel like evidence like this would potentially end football, because it's like the cigarette thing. There's no such thing as a safe cigarette. There's no such thing as safe football if this is the shit that just happens. Like, it just happens in the game.
Because then it's not football anymore. It's not football.
It's a different thing. Well, and at that point, so then we start crossing into, do we ban football? The answer is no, because we can't start policing leisure activities. Like, people are going to get hurt doing anything. But as far as the NFL is concerned, like, if that had to stop existing because nobody wanted to play football anymore, that's fine.
Yeah, it is what it is. Sorry.
Neat. But, like, they have lobbying power because they have money, so neat.
Well, and
so much money. I really hope you get into that, Brie.
Yeah.
Well, and, like...
Sorry, go on.
No, you're right. And the whole thing behind it, too, is that there are always going to be, like, people who... Football is, like, an American tradition, and, like, you know, all they ever want to do is play for the NFL, and, like, da-da-da. And so it's, like, I don't think that itself is ever going to be taken away.
Right.
So let's just continue with our story here.
Shall we?
In September of 2006, the commissioner of the NFL retired, and his right-hand man, Roger Goodell, took over. Roger Goodell then promoted a neuroscientist to the MTBI, Dr. Ira Kaysen, who firmly and publicly denied all of Dr. Amalu's research.
Right.
Fuck this guy. Oh, God.
And this is where things just get
Wonder how much they
fucking
paid him.
childish. I love this part of the whole story. I mean, I don't. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, ready? So,
I'm ready.
Okay. So the NFL gathered all of their top doctors, trainers, and big shots as part of the league in the summer of 2007 in a hotel as part of a conference to cover CTE and the effects of CTE and concussions, brain damage in the NFL, right?
Sure.
Omalu, the person with the most fucking qualified experience and the person that published all of his research, the founder of this shit, was not invited.
Right.
He was
really cool.
Fully prepared to speak, give all of his case study, all of his research, right? Because they thought that it was just genuinely an open discussion, but they went, no, you're not invited. And they literally didn't allow him in the conference.
Did his invite get lost in the mail?
Maybe.
Okay, sorry, man. We really wanted you there. It's just... we didn't have your current address, and you know how it is.
Oh my god, you didn't get our email? Oh, did you check your spam folder?
Oh, you know what? We put a hyphen in your email address. There must not be one. So sorry.
God.
Next time.
Yeah, so it was like a 12-year-old girl not inviting the smart girl in class to her birthday party because she wants to seem cool and edgy.
It's a deep cut, Brie. That hurts me.
Hey, I was about to say somebody's real name and call her out for not inviting me to fourth grade birthday sleepover.
Those are deep wounds.
Man.
Thanks, Sarah. It's a fake name. but you know who the fuck you are, like you're actually listening to this podcast. Okay. Jesus. So instead of Amalu publishing his research, one of his coworkers presents it for him. Basically, this dude was like, oh no, fuck that shit. I'm invited. I'll present it for you.
I'll do it. Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
Right. So upon the research, the NFL said the 2 cases Amalu studied plus the new cases. There was 2 new cases, by the way, 2 new deaths.
As an aside,
Andre Waters and Justin Strelzik were merely anecdotal and not real science.
what does that mean? Not real science. That's not even a thing.
There were anecdotes.
Okay, but like he did science, so like
there were anecdotes though, weren't they?
What?
It's literally like the NFL is at this point just coming up with anything to just combat their shit, right?
Sure, yeah, it's just stupid shit.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
my thing is like
insane.
I can understand the argument if like they only have 2 case studies. These aren't experimental studies. These are like post facto analysis. Like I get that, but I feel like the appropriate response is like, oh shit, like here's 2 case studies. We're gonna look into this to see if it actually is.
Well, at this point, there's 4. So
is there 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 4 now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Not looking good for the NFL.
Really not
No.
at all.
So in order to reduce conflict and just be fucking done with it all, Dr. Amalu moves states and stops working on his CTE research.
Oh, buddy, no. I understand, but
And he was
that's a
quoted.
bummer.
He was quoted as wishing he had never met Mike Webster.
Yeah, it probably fucking ruined his life.
Yeah, no, it did.
Yeah.
However, there's a silver lining to all of this. Dr. Anne McKee continued expanding on Umalu's research in 2008, picking up where he left off. Now, she does something real badass here. I love her. On the night of the Super Bowl in the year of 2009, this woman set up a press conference across the street from where the Super Bowl was being held to expose CTE research.
Oh, shit.
Oh, hell yeah!
This bitch is my hero.
Yeah. She even, at the conference, calls Tom McHale's wife, who was another football player that developed an aggression and drug problem and died of an overdose because of the CTE that he had. Tom's wife at the
Man, I love this woman.
Tom's wife talked about the struggle that her husband and the family went through, and yet out of thousands of reporters across the street covering the Super Bowl, only 12 heard what these women had to say. McKee was told that her research was, again, skewed and not valid in the eyes of the NFL.
So, devil's advocate?
Oh, do tell. What is it?
Bruce Springsteen was playing the halftime show.
Oh, there you go.
You know,
Well,
you got yourself a point there.
I mean, how many times do you get to see Bruce Springsteen perform?
right. So...
Sorry.
right. So yeah, it was basically just this huge flop because she didn't get the attention and no one cared because all they cared about was the fucking Super Bowl.
Sure.
It's just devastating because the fact that she came up with all this scientific evidence, all this research, more and more players were getting hurt. And no one gave a fuck because as long as they were making money. Also, the Super Bowl, it's billions of dollars alone.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Just that one event. So,
Yeah, just it's a lot. And also, who doesn't want to hear a little Born in the USA?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, that's depressing. I am joking to not betray that my heart is broken.
Yeah, that's fucking rough.
So this is where some shit goes down. All right.
Oh, like it wasn't already?
Hell
But,
yeah.
but listen, right? So in a
I'm listening.
Manhattan restaurant, an internal research document was leaked to a reporter that contained documentation of a study the NFL conducted on football players. In the study, the NFL asked the players if they had a past history of dementia, Alzheimer's, or any memory loss related illness. This showed that the former NFL players seem to have memory loss related disorders much, much more than normal members of the community.
Interesting.
This also showed that the NFL knew the entire time.
But of course.
So as the story got out, Congress started to look into the long-term impact of concussions. So now that they got the government's attention, the commissioner of the NFL was called to Congress, and I shit you not, Congress compared the NFL to big tobacco companies.
Oh,
Hell yeah!
fuck! That's awesome.
It was so great because the commissioner of the NFL is sitting there and the woman just like fucking railed him. She just like put him on fucking
Rip
blast.
him apart.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
She was like, so when the big tobacco companies came and said that tobacco wasn't a health concern and that they knew about the evidence and the actual cancer-causing agents in tobacco, they tried to cover it up. How is this different?
Ooh.
The
Just a hardcore zinger.
Yeah, the commissioner of the NFL just sat there. I was literally
Oh, fuck.
screaming. I was so excited. So after the embarrassment of being compared to big tobacco companies and industries, the commissioner of the NFL puts out new rules so they can protect their players more efficiently.
Air quotes.
Yes. Dr. Kaysen, who is the doctor that was part of the committee, the neuroscientist, resigns, and a new committee would be formed, being run by
Loser.
2 new neurosurgeons. The commissioner then decided to donate $1 million to the Boston University, helping with their CTE research, and promises Dr. McKee that he will encourage players to donate their brains to science and to be studied if they have CTE after their death.
Okay.
But to me, like, granted, like, this is all, like, positive things because you're trying to help research now, but at the same time, like...
Too little, too late?
Yeah,
a
but
little
also
bit.
you're saying, oh, well, when there are other NFL players that contract this disease, inevitably, we'll encourage them to donate their body to science so that they can be further studied. Because he knows it's happening.
Sure.
He knows
Yeah.
it's happening.
Christ.
Then another death. When Thomas was 21 years old, and a lineman that decided to take his own life suddenly with no previous history of mental illness or concussions.
Jeez.
Thomas was found to have CTE.
Man,
This
who'd have thought?
is fucking huge. Because one, Thomas is 21 years old.
Oh my god. That's us.
That's my age. Oh,
Currently
fuck,
right this
dude.
second. That's insane.
He's not even officially in the NFL yet. Like, he'd be in collegiate football,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Thomas,
Like, unless he didn't go to college.
Unless he was drafted.
Thomas had
Which, like-
CTE in his brain, even though
Jesus Christ.
he didn't have a series of concussions, which means that
Yeah, the idea of a 21-year-old having CTE, that there's something desperately wrong.
well, no, but this is huge, guys. It wasn't
Yeah.
just concussions causing CTE; it was just playing the fucking game.
Yeah, because he'd probably been playing it for years, right?
He didn't
Already?
Well, he didn't have a history of concussions, but he still
Right,
contracted
but
CTE.
he's probably
But
been playing football since, like, high school.
right.
Probably before
And-
then.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is it's just football. So it's like no matter how carefully you play the game or your safety and trying not to sustain concussions, you still have a possibility of fucking contracting it at the age of 21. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, that's insane.
So an 18-year-old named Eric Pele, who was a high school senior, dreamed of playing for football for the Steelers, died, and his brain again was examined. Sure enough, they found evidence of CTE.
God.
So we're at a high school
old is he?
level now.
He was 18.
High school? Oh my god.
He was a
Fuck,
senior in
dude.
high school and always dreamed about playing for the Steelers of the NFL. Yeah, sad.
Okay.
That was the quote that I texted you guys earlier in the week that I knew was just going to make you go quiet. So, good to know.
Yeah, you really nailed it on that one.
Right, so now doctors have advised that because of this research, children under the age of 14 should just not be playing contact football.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Especially at a younger age, it's more harmful than not at an older age. So, as of today, Dr. McKee has studied 46 NFL players. How many of them do you think had CTE?
I'm going to say all of them.
46, yeah.
45.
45?
Yeah, there was one that didn't.
There's only one.
Only one.
Yeah, okay. Nice. Really good track record, NFL.
Yeah, 45 out of 46. Okay, so then linebacker Junior Sal wasted his money on gambling and had behavioral changes fueled by aggression, which again led him to killing himself. In 2012, Sal also had CTE. And then just the list goes on. Just many, many young men killing themselves or being harmed by drugs, overdoses, whatever, fucking heart attacks because of this fucking game.
Shit.
So the commissioner...
Is it worth it, kids?
No, it's not.
No.
I'll answer that for you right now. It's not. The commissioner of the NFL helped promote a youth football safety initiative and donated $30 million to study brain injuries.
All right.
Later, players filed a lawsuit for $2 billion against the NFL due to the NFL not accurately explaining to them the possible dangers of being an NFL player. The suit eventually settled for $765 million. And the league makes it clear that the NFL is not saying there is a link between football and serious head injuries.
Even though there definitely fucking is.
Since then, the NFL has come out and said that there might be a possible link between CTE and the head injuries in the NFL, but they're doing everything in their power to stop this from happening.
Except stopping.
Love that phrasing. Like,
maybe.
There might be...
Looking at 45 of 46 players examined that all have it.
Maybe.
Perhaps. We'll see. We're trying our best. I hate
Based
them.
on that behavior, so back to that book, Tale of the Dueling Neurosurgeons, he had a whole section on the frontal lobe, like a whole chapter dedicated to it. Mm-hmm. And there was like a story of a guy who had had a stroke that was like clustered in his frontal lobe. And he went from being like a conservative accountant with a family, very typical white dude in suburbia, to... doing whatever he wanted, gambling, cheating on his wife, doing drugs, and, like, just didn't really register with him that was wrong.
Right.
Because, like, the frontal lobe is in charge of, like, decision-making, rational thinking, and everything. And he just, like, ruined his life after his stroke because he literally could not comprehend when he was doing wrong. Like, he just... all the impulse control was gone. So it sounds like a lot of these CTE injuries are at least clustered towards the frontal lobe.
Yeah.
Which makes a little bit of sense because, you know, when a football player goes down, their brain knocks back and forth in the brain.
Yeah, hits the skull.
Because the occipital lobe in the back is responsible for vision, and it doesn't sound like a lot of them had vision issues.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because the reason why I picked this topic is because, one, I wanted to learn more about the issue just because genuinely I didn't know a lot about it, and I knew it was a huge cover-up. And two, Will Smith has a movie called Concussion, and I really wanted to watch it because Will Smith is everything. I've had a crush on Will Smith since the age of 7. Fight me on this.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah, I used to watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with my sisters and just, like, stare at him.
You are fucking hilarious.
But what I'm saying is in the movie, it's Will Smith plays Dr. Omalu. And it's dramatized, right? It's not like 100% accurate to the events of what happened. But there's a scene where they talk about specifically the brain rattling in the skull because it's covered by fluid. And the impact of that. So it touched upon that. Also, a couple of facts that I just want to throw out to you guys. A human being will get concussed at 60 Gs. A common head-to-head contact on a football field has a power of 100 Gs.
Holy fuck. That's insane. I had no idea.
Yeah.
How is that even fucking possible?
It's just so much force. You got to remember that these boys are big, beefy men, you know? Like, if they're...
Yeah, they're big.
Yeah, they're big dudes. Football players don't fuck around. Like, if they... So I can imagine that much force, that much inertia, you know, like, you're gonna get fucking destroyed.
Yeah, wow.
And also, actuaries of the NFL concluded that 28% of all professional football players will suffer from serious cognitive impairment, including CTE.
Yeah.
At least 28%.
Yeah. I wonder then, because these are only the people that, like, died. Like, I wonder how many people have mild CTE.
Oh, they've come out and they said the majority of football players probably do.
Yeah.
So, of all sports, football accounts for the highest incidence of concussions in the U.S. due to the large number of athletes participating and also the nature of the sport. And I read a bunch of, like, scientific research and studies on behavioral problems with CTE, but not only that, because I knew that this argument was going to come up of, well, what if we just changed the helmets? Or, like, what if we changed the equipment? No, bitch. According to the study, can helmet design reduce the risk of concussions in football? From the Journal of Neurosurgery, they said technically yes, but not
does that
really. That they can slightly reduce they can slightly reduce the risk of concussion, and it's important to wear helmets. I am not advocating for not wearing helmets. Please wear helmets.
yeah.
Helmets can save your life, but helmets...
They will save your life.
Yeah, they will. Helmets are mostly made for, like, large impact accidents, so, like, motorcycle accidents, right? It's meant to be a second layer of, like, skull, essentially. So that way if you crack the helmet open, you're not actually cracking your head open. It's not meant for blunt and, like, damage from concussions. It's just not.
Yeah,
it's not
going to secure your brain from moving around.
No, nothing will. So,
Right, yeah.
my final question to you guys is, what are we going to do about it?
God, like, the answer seems to just be end football, stop it, it's not worth it, but that'll never happen because then stop it. Bad football
stop right
players.
now.
Stop it. No, but, like, that's never gonna happen because people want to play football and it's ingrained in our culture, if you can call it that, and, like, you know, so that's not a thing.
Well, yeah, and it's basically...
But, like, I think that it needs to be... You know, if people who want to get an abortion have to sit and, like, read a pamphlet about your baby and their personality in their womb, then, like, I think football players who want to play football should have to sit and watch a seminar on what it's going to do to your fucking brain, you know?
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah.
Right.
That's...
Well, and you gotta remember, too, because I had this discussion with somebody about how... I had a conversation with one of my coworkers who's a big fan of football, and we had a conversation about and debated about this because, you know, I was very passionate about it. And he was saying that it's their choice. At the end of the day, they're choosing to injure themselves and hurt themselves.
But not if they don't know.
Right, and then that's what I was saying.
Like, if they don't know what they're doing and what it's going to do to them, then that's not a choice.
They didn't know.
That's the illusion of choice.
Right, they didn't know up until the year of, like, 2008, right?
Right, exactly.
So it's all new information, so we really do not know. And the NFL fucked people over, and as an organization, I'm not going to support that. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
They don't care about their
way.
players. Like, if they're allowing their players to have dementia-like symptoms and cause this type of shit throughout their life, I mean, and it's not just with older men, too. It's with 18, 21-year-olds. Like, this is fucked up.
Yeah, so that's one of those things, too, where, like, if the NFL recruits maybe, like, let's just say, like, earliest at 18, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If somebody has been playing football since they were kids, because I had a cousin who played football when he was, like, elementary school. Yeah, so they pulled him out of football. And... my thing is, if you explain to an 18-year-old this is going to happen to you, how much of the damage is already done by high school? you know?
I feel like some of that's, like, repairable.
Your brain
stop.
doesn't repair very well.
Well, sure, but, like, oh, I can't repair the damage I did. Better make it worse. That's not logic.
Oh,
Like, yeah, I know, but, like, I don't know, if somebody already killed themselves, like, 18, like...
Yeah. Well,
and also, then you have the decision-making factor that's now, you know, impaired, right?
It's
like, if
already
somebody's,
impaired.
like, really fucked up, but that's like, well, I've been doing this for so long, and I feel fine, like...
I'll probably feel fine forever.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the 18-year-old mentality, right? Like, I can do cocaine. I will live forever, right? Like, just this feeling of invincibility. Like, I'm not sure an 18-year-old would really understand.
But then what's the answer? Because we can't start enforcing, like, no one can play football. That's not a thing.
Yeah, that's not an answer because that's infringing upon free choice. I feel like it's definitely more up to the parents because, like, you know, if you start when you're, like, 10, it's going to be normalized for you. Your parents are making the decision to, like, put you into football, right?
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, because it's one of those things where, like, I have, my family's an SC family, right? And Matt's family is a UCLA family. And they're super crazy passionate about football. Like, you know, they get the season tickets. They constantly go to all the games. They paid, like, thousands of dollars for all the memorabilia. Like, it's like a lifestyle, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much a family that's that into sports is going to really think seriously about the risk of developing CTE.
Right. And that's my whole thing too, is it's like, because this is such a huge deal. Like, American football is like one of the first things I think of when it comes to the good old USA, you know, other than the blatant racism and sexism. But you know what I mean?
Never mind that.
Not wrong.
American Pie. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like my whole thing is I don't know what the solution is, but what I do know is that the NFL's 10 wealthiest team owners are now having net worth of $61 billion combined.
Yeah.
So that's around $6 billion per team owner.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And
That's so much money.
They're profiting off of men hurting themselves. Also, if you look at the footage, NFL, you can't argue that they're just going to make their plays safer, because they're not. Like,
No.
the thing that NFL...
I mean, like, the O.J. Simpson footage, it's not like he purposely fell. Like, he got tackled and tumbled and landed directly on his neck.
Right,
Like,
Yeah, how do you prevent that?
Also, and
can't
it's
really
like,
prevent
the
that.
NFL, like,
Yeah.
not even, like, even if they were to prevent it, the NFL, like, their whole, like, I don't know, like, their whole gig is, I guess, to advertise... like violence and like high impact. This is the most intense, like whatever, right? To like, you know, because like people want to see other people like get hurt and get fumbled, and like that's part of the sport. You know what I'm saying? And so like that's a big issue. But even if like the NFL were to say, okay, no more of like directing it on like violence and injury, you know what I mean? Like the sport inevitably will be that, because sometimes you fumble and then you get ran over by a player, you know, like shit happens, like so
sure do.
That's not an option. Like one of my friends is or was a coach on their rugby team at their college, and I would hear stories about how one of their team members had their eyes swollen shut for like a week because someone cleated them in the face by accident. You know, and so it's like people are not going to stop playing high-impact sports. It's just not going to stop happening.
No.
It's just, what do we do knowing that this medical research is extremely serious and exists, and there's a clear correlation between them.
I think that like the only thing that can be done is just making the information available, and it's just not right now.
Right.
No.
Like it hasn't been, obviously, because it was covered up. But
It's
like
also so recent. It's 10 years.
yeah, it is. That's insane. But like I think the only thing that can be done is to just make to market it as it is, which won't happen, and to make the information about the health impacts accessible to potential players, which isn't happening right now.
God, and like, I don't know, I just like can't get over like the emotional connection that people have to football. Like, I grew, you know, both Brie and I went to an art school, so we never really felt the pull of sports. But my sister goes to Dana, and she's in pep squad, and she cheers at every game, and like, football is so fucking important at that school. Like, every single football game is just like packed to the walls. Like, Brooke, you went to San Juan, like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, people are very into football. Like, you know, Dana, like, the games where Dana is fighting San Clemente or San Juan, which are the closest local schools for us for context, it's really big. Like, the city will show up, parents will show up, alumni of the high school will show up. Like, it's just, people get so into it, and that's, like, literally 16-year-olds slamming themselves into each other. You know, if the information is available, the people who are supporting football the most aren't the players, but are the people paying to see the game, you know? And it's easy to watch it when it's not happening to you.
Sure, yeah.
Fuck, like, I'm just thinking about the salaries that, like, people make. Like, I almost went to Louisiana State, which is a very, very sports-heavy college in Louisiana. And, yeah, from what I understand, it is, like, the majority of funding at most, like, sportsy universities goes directly to the football and, like, the other sports stuff.
Oh, well, yeah, and, like, you look at, like, the NFL obviously is a huge deal. It's professional football, but you look at college football. College football is huge because, you know, I'm in Oregon, and as soon as you get off into PDX Airport, which is, like, the big airport here, the nation's #1 airport, by the way. You see, like, just...
By what standards?
But
it's an excellent question, actually.
It's rated as America's #1 airport. It's a good airport.
I don't know, I'm just asking,
By
like,
what?
does somebody, like, walk in there and they're like, oh, well, this is #1 for sure.
The cleanliness,
Top-notch.
the service, the overall way,
Just
like...
everything?
Yeah, it's just a fucking nice airport.
Do you know, or are you making this up?
It's rated as America's #1 airport. Olivia, look it up. If I make it up, then
I'm
I'm
doing it.
sorry, can I just use this as an example of we're talking about we don't understand why people are into sports, and Brie is vehemently defending her local airport.
We're fired up. Fired up.
Oh my god.
Okay, who rated it? Just wondering.
I know that whenever I'm in PDX, it is rated as the nation's #1 airport.
By
Like,
who? Who, Brie?
there's
Who did
signs
this?
everywhere that says it's America's #1 airport.
By who?
Anyway.
I want to know.
Hold on, I'm looking this shit up because now it's
you
gonna
said
make me
just
upset.
in the U.S.?
Yes.
Just in the U.S. or in the world?
Yes, in the U.S.
Okay.
I'm mad.
Let's find out. I can find nothing on, like, an official list of the best North American airports. I can't find anything on the Google
I'm so mad.
that says anything
I'm
about
Portland
Portland's
International Airport. Something. It is the largest airport in the U.S. state of Oregon. Accounts for 90% of passenger travel. Something.
Hey, you know what? We're talking about sports right now.
Hey, what's your favorite episode of Things That Keep Me Up at Night? I like the one where they talked about airports for a long time. Holy fuck, what is wrong with us?
Anyway, you were saying about sports in Oregon?
Oh, sorry. So when you go into America's best airport and you just...
Fuck off.
Leave the call. No, but when you walk into,
go on.
When you walk into PDX, there's like just like Oregon like duck stuff everywhere. It's like the big joke is like go Ducks, and it's like green and orange and or green and yellow. Why did I say orange?
Wow, and you're a fan, huh?
Fake fan, you don't even know the colors. Ridiculous.
I don't watch okay, so but what I'm saying is that my friend goes to U of O and says that it's like
just everywhere.
Yeah, it's literally like everything to them. Like everyone will scream Skodux like at the top of their lungs, like at parties and like.
Oh,
Right,
I totally
yeah.
forgot like the most important part of why I didn't go to LSU. For any of my Southern listeners out there, so they take the LSU colors and they put them on the Confederate flag. So that's just tying the identity of the South with the local college.
Wait, I'm so sorry.
Anyway,
I'm so
not that that's like
sorry.
a
I'm so
major
sorry.
deciding factor.
Just
when
a little
I go
side
there.
note there for anybody
But,
who wants to go there.
That's
Cool
a real thing that they
beans.
do.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, sports is a big deal to people, not us. Don't get it, but
Yeah, but I wanted to pick this
Yeah, I
topic
know.
because it's still such an open-ended thing, right? Because we don't know what we're
Yeah.
gonna do. Because if you can say, oh yeah, like cigarettes, that's somebody like choosing, knows the implications of it. But like all this research came out pretty recently, and I feel like in all reality, like football is more American than cigarettes are. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's just such a cultural phenomenon that it's like we don't want it to be taken away, but what are we
Right.
gonna do otherwise? So that's what keeps
Yeah,
me up at
and
night.
my only thing is literally the only option I can think of is an 18-year-old isn't going to understand the implications of that when presented to them, especially if they've started when they're like 10 or 14.
Yeah.
Like, the only solution to getting them to stop playing, because there's no such thing as a safe cigarette. There's no such thing as a safe football game. The only solution is that parents are aware and they don't put them into contact sports, because once a kid does it when they're younger, it's been normalized. Like, that's just
Right.
what I do. And as, a parent, you are responsible for a lifelong love of sports.
My whole thing though is it's like what you're saying is that you shouldn't have kids in contact sports, so they wouldn't want to pursue contact sports in the future, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, so then is the NFL just going to be non-existent? Like, is football not going to be happening? Because if there's no kids playing contact sports, then...
Well, here's the thing, too, and this is from my boyfriend. Sports are not doing well right now.
Really?
Mostly because the generation that grew up with, like, a big patriotism for sports is old and dying. And I don't know if y'all have ever tried to go to a sports game, but it is insanely expensive to go to a sports game.
I used to go to baseball games when I was a kid, but I haven't
the tickets
been in my
now are
adult years.
insane. My dad tried to buy tickets for like the Angels, and he said it was so much fucking money, and they got like the nosebleed seats. And I don't have the money to drop $200 to like sit in a seat and watch people play. And then you think of the packages that you can buy for like cable to watch sports. Those things, holy shit, those packages are expensive, right? Like, they're trying to charge a premium. They're not attracting a new audience. Like, it is slowly dying out. Just, again, the people who support sports are not the people that are playing it, but the people that are spending money to fill the seats.
Right.
So,
I mean, I guess it also depends on the sport, because I know hockey games you can get a ticket for like $30 a piece to be in blood note seats.
Super cheap.
It's interesting because I genuinely I've tried to think about what the solution is, and there's no clear cut one,
Yeah, I don't think that there is one right now. I think it's
'cause
just
a
information.
lot of people-
and that is terrifying, that there is nothing we can do.
Right.
Yeah, it's all personal choice. So
Yep. That has me sufficiently insomniated, so great. Good job, Brie.
Thank you.
Also, I need to rescind my condemnation from earlier. Travelandleisure.com for 6 years in a row has named Portland International Airport the best airport in the United States.
Yes,
I'm sorry. So congratulations, Brie. You were right.
Thank you.
I would also like to apologize for something I posted on Instagram.
Shut the
I don't
fuck.
know if you saw it, but
I
I
didn't.
woke up at like 8 a.m. and I had gone to sleep at like 12:30, and I'd done the same thing for like 4 nights in a row. Like, now I have a kitten in the house, so I'm definitely not fucking sleeping. And I posted... I posted on my story and on the story for Things That Keep Me Up at Night a picture of Joe Camel at like a NASCAR game, which, by the way, side note, best picture I've ever fucking seen in my entire life. This is the most American thing I've ever seen. I posted, take a sneak peek, ladies and gents, and spelt ladies, LADY 'S. And that has kept me up at night. I saw it and I'm so embarrassed, and just
That's the worst thing you've ever done. How dare you? You come here on this podcast and you call yourself a podcast member, and then you post that bullshit. Oh my God, Olivia, the world is fucking ending.
I'm so tired.
My favorite.
And
My favorite thing ever is, I don't think Olivia even realized this, but when I was looking at the episode 7, how do you sell death thing for it, is the description under the episode notes is, today we start our new series on cover-ups and conspiracies with a banger.
Okay.
What's wrong with that?
It's true, so...
I think that was so funny because it's like, banger is like an only, like, I don't know, like, I feel like banger and bars is a very, like, us thing to use, you know?
Yeah.
It's a banger. Whatever, it's a good one.
It is a banger.
Bars.
It was sick, as the kids say. It was
Brianna, if you could close us up.
Yeah, so, guys, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. I'm constantly, floored by how many people actually like listen to us and want to hear all the arguments and shit that we say. But if you could give us a review, that'd be greatly appreciated, especially on iTunes. It really helps us get promoted on the platform just because they have a real weird algorithm thing where the more reviews, it promotes you more. So you can follow the podcast on @TT.
One job. One fucking
job. It sounded like I said titty. Hold on, can I start that over?
Yeah, I'm leaving that in.
No, you have to follow through with it. Titty me up.
Can we call this episode Titty Me Up? Wait, keep it.
Oh, God.
Okay. So you can follow the podcast on at TTK Me Up on Twitter and Instagram. We will post updates about the show and the podcast. Funny little clips.
We'll also add our actual personal Instagrams and Twitters in the description for this episode. That's always there.
It's not in the description of the episode. I've never corrected any of you on that.
What?
Olivia...
It's like... If you go to the Instagram for TTK Me Up, I've linked all of our accounts for each of the respective... So you can, like, click on it and you can navigate through Instagram.
That's easier and way better than what I said, so don't listen to me.
Yay.
Also, if you leave a review, it would be really awesome if you could, like, write suggestions or things that you want to hear from us. Maybe we could start taking suggestions for, like, categories. That would be...
hell yeah. That would be super dope because... worried we're gonna run out of things.
Yeah, I think we've got 2 more in the barrel, but after that, who's to say?
After that, we're just gonna end the podcast, end it on a high.
Yeah, it's over.
So,
no, so I think also if you guys want to like DM us suggestions for minisodes too, because we're trying to come up with a minisode topic right now.
I think personally,
I know what
that our minisode topic should be talking about the Beauty and the Beast remake.
Oh, okay.
Look, it wasn't that bad. And we might get into it in 2 weeks. Who knows? Yes, you'll have to tune in.
We could talk about movies that we hate. I don't know.
Yeah, like irrational hatred of movies. I think that's a good category, but we'll see.
That'd be cute.
It's a mystery.
We'll find out then when we all figure it out like the week before and scramble to put it together.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. We'll figure it out, but thanks guys for listening so much.
Hope this kept you up at night.
It's been real.
It sure has.
Deuces.
See ya.
Bye.